Hey everyone, welcome back to the lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game hangout here in San Francisco, California. Going a bit late today. We had some guests come in. I don't know that we published any videos yet or said who it was, but in the coming days we'll show off some
strong men,
some strong wrestlers that came in. That's all I'll say. But anyway, we pushed the lobby back to the old time at 2 p.m. Pacific. So if you're on the East Coast just getting out of work, welcome. If you're over here with us, hopefully we can close out the day with you. Almost everybody else outside of the United States, welcome as well. I'm Mike Mahardy here as always with Peter Brown.
Hi. Who am I supposed to say hi to? I don't know if it's
the camera.
You or
the people. Rob Hanley.
Hi.
Hi. Callie Plaggy.
Hello.
We got a really full show today. Have a giveaway as always. I'll get into that later on in the show. Some unfortunate news yesterday. A lot of unfortunate news. EA Visceral was shuttered. EA also canceled whatever. It didn't really cancel the Star Wars game they were making so much as shuffled people around to other internal studios, and also they're pivoting that project to essentially be more games as service. I have the statement here from Patrick Soderlund, and we'll get into that later. Start off on a more lighthearted note with a few news things, and we'll get into Evil Within 2, which I'm very much enjoying now that I've played most of it. South Park, which Pete, Rob, and Kelly have tried out. Pete's going to kind of give us an update on his GT Sport review, a bit of a weird situation there, and talk a little bit more about the game. I got a bunch of Twitter questions yesterday, so we'll get through all those. As always, the YouTube and Twitch chats are up here in GameSpot, so feel free to chime in. If you say something funny or make fun of Rob or anything, I will probably call it out. And cool, let's get into it.
I was just about to say nice intro until that last part.
Oh, sorry. Scratch that, but thank you. Cuphead sold 1 million. I suck at the game, apparently. No, I'm just kidding. I really like the game. It's one of my favorite games. We did a reboot episode on it, and people, of course, saw the title saying, the difficulty with video game, the problem with video game difficulty, and assumed I sucked at it, but no, it's a very good game. Joey Yee has a lot of good gameplay up on our YouTube channel. He got an S rank on all of the expert mode bosses. This right here is the matchstick something. I forget the full name.
And a P rank for pacifist.
Oh, the pacifist. Mode. Yes. Yeah, this game is fantastic. Congratulations to Studio MDHR, the Moldenhauer brothers, and the rest of the people that worked on that team with them. I believe they're Toronto-based. Either way, they sold 1 million copies, which is great for them, great for Microsoft as a console exclusive. Can't say anything more about that game that hasn't already been said. Fantastic work on their part. Gorgeous, but also challenging and rewarding in more ways than one.
It's so gorgeous.
So also, new Wolfenstein 2 marketing campaign kind of kicked off this week, I would say, as we lead up to the October 27th release. Callie, you'll be reviewing it. Hopefully you'll be getting it next week some point. You've been playing through New Order. I know Nick Margarita just played through New Order for the first time, and now he can't get enough of these trailers. The launch trailer was, I think this is the original E3 trailer, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this is the launch trailer.
Well,
so they're the Resistance calling them.
Yeah, they're reusing those alternate history television shows and TV programming. It's great.
Yeah, so then this is like the Resistance call to action. Everybody stand up. If we see you in the streets fighting Nazis, whether it's with your fists or with guns, you're on our side. It's just getting amped up. You see Anya here, who at this point is pregnant with twins, yet she's still sliding past a group of Nazis, chucking grenades at them.
Yeah. My queen. Wife goals, life goals.
Just badassery in general all over this game. You see the dual wielding with different weapons. I honestly, and also not to mention
Nazis getting their asses.
Yeah, the 10-second kind of promo. The teaser to this launch trailer, Pete Hines, head of Bethesda PR, was saying, the game was not meant to be social commentary. They had written according to him,
it's been in development for a while, yeah.
But the marketing campaign was very prescient in the way that it said there's only one side, and then it showed the Nazi getting punched. It said,
it's like, if you're a Nazi, GTFO. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that game will be a very real, hopefully cathartic experience on October 27th when we get the chance to play it.
I do want to add that one of the notable things about that trailer is you can kill the KKK members, which for some reason I had assumed they were just kind of like set pieces. I'm not sure why, or like part of cutscenes, but you actually see the dude get shot in the face.
Yeah, right after the release date, the the actual title screen, it showed Hitler come out stumbling. Jean-Luc was getting super into how the first game Hitler, potentially set up you running into him, because they said he was sick and weird and losing it. Yeah, probably on methamphetamines or something. I read that book recently, actually.
Mein Kampf.
Oh, Jesus Christ! No, the I forget the author. It was the one. It explored how much the Third Reich was using drugs and whatnot. It got a lot of pushback saying, "Oh, so you're excusing them?" It's like, no, not at all. I'm just saying meth was a huge thing in the Third Reich and the Wehrmacht.
I think for soldiers at large.
In the U.S. Army, they had meth in there.
Yeah,
it's speed basically.
Yeah.
Wait, actually?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
But anyway, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, October 27th, alongside Super Mario Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins. Great day, crazy day, but it'll be fun.
We were talking about
Things too.
We were talking about
Stranger
Things
too.
Yeah.
Very right.
We were talking about that last shot of Hitler. I don't know if it was confirmed, but I think it was a giant bomb interview with one of the creative director for the new Wolfenstein.
At
kind of
Machine Games.
Yeah, kind of teased that. Yeah, the shot here. Well, one that in order for Hitler to be alive in the late 60s, right? He needs to be cryoed or reborn more or less. Yeah. But very,
or just not killing himself, right, in the bunker.
He looked like
he looked
brittle.
Oh, he looked. I found he looked.
He would be about
70,
wouldn't he?
Anyways, but the
math is hard.
I don't know. But the ending of the first Wolfenstein had Mecha Hitler, right?
Right.
We were just talking in the office for a while. I think the third game, which is confirmed that they're doing a third game.
Yes, Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Wolfenstein. It is. It's got to amount to that final boss. You know what I mean? I don't think you're gonna fight Hitler in this game. Is what I'm getting at.
No, Inglourious Bastards kind of release scene.
I mean, how can you top that? Is what I'm saying for a trilogy.
Yeah, how do you top killing
Hitler, Mecha Hitler,
the apex of the story
It's got to be the third game. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, that's exciting. Another Bethesda news: the Doom on Switch got its official release date, November 10th. We get to check that out in Nintendo's handheld / living room kind of console.
It's 3 weeks.
Yeah, we got a lot of traffic on this video. We put this up. Nick and Miguel were over there checking this out. Got some over-the-shoulder footage. Is this Nick playing? I believe it might be. It might not.
I shot this. I rushed over there and then unbuttoned my shirt to hide the glare later on.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Those don't look like your nipples.
I unbuttoned my shirt.
But this guy has some mean, steady hands. I was impressed. He was one of the developers.
You do too. Holding the camera. But
tripod.
You didn't get to play it? What was that? You didn't get to play this?
I did not get to play it.
Okay. I'm curious how a first-person shooter like dual analog will feel on a handheld. Of course, you can always play this with a Pro Controller and a TV, but I think the appeal for me is playing it handheld. I don't know that I would play Doom right before bed, but I also would.
I was about to say, it's I don't know if I would recommend playing it right before bed, but that is 100% something I would do.
This is so good for Switch.
Yeah. I really like this game a whole lot.
Yeah,
I love
this game.
Very excited. I already bought it. I'll probably buy it again for Switch.
Yeah. So that's November 10th, and then I don't believe the Wolfenstein 2 version on Switch, which comes out 2018, has a release date yet. Maybe sometime late spring. I don't know if I'm guessing.
I told some guy this morning that he's wrong. That game ain't coming to Switch. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm the asshole.
I mean, they announced it around the same time that they what was it? They released another trailer or whatever. But
it was at the same time, wasn't it? They said both games?
Was it?
I thought they announced both games.
Yeah, they announced them both times, but then they said Doom is coming this year. Wolfenstein will be after the fact next year.
They showed Doom, I think.
Correct.
I said, but not.
It was the same.
Gotcha.
It was the same. I don't know if it was an event or just some sort of announcement thing that PR organized. Cool. That's pretty much it for news. Pete, you texted me the other night saying, "Hey, we should talk about the new Xbox dashboard," which I got to check out.
I haven't looked at it yet.
Oh,
I also checked it out.
It looks
good. It's
first glance
surprisingly functional. Half the deal with PlayStation, from my personal standpoint, I think PlayStation's menu UI, whether you're going through the games, the PlayStation Store, through any of your video, TV apps, it's very functional. It's pretty much just rows, and then you go down if you want more details.
Functional but intuitive.
Thank you. That's a better way to describe it. Its
it.
UI, UX works very well. Xbox is more like that. So you start off, and this is your home screen. You got the games and apps right here on that row underneath here. It shows what's happening right now. Like you're downloading Gears of War 4. Here's your friends row. It still looks a little cluttered. It's that whole, like Windows 10 weird kind of asymmetrical grid that doesn't even make sense with varying degrees of rectangles.
Yeah, looks like it's supposed to be a touchscreen, even though this is not a touchscreen kind of deal.
Right, and
it's getting there. But
it's better.
The thing is okay, sorry, just to interject real quick.
No,
the PlayStation UI works so well because here are games, here are all the settings and secondary things I want to take care of. The secondary things still seem to be out of the way.
Yeah.
They are and they aren't. So you just hit the home button, and I found that like scrolling through that menu was easier. I mean, it's a very minor change, but it's kind of like a sidebar that pops up, and they've been slowly transitioning from like kicking you to the dashboard when you hit the home button anyway.
Right.
But I did find it a little easier to navigate. I mean, it's still not I still don't love it, right?
No.
But at least they're trying. I don't know.
It does. I mean, I've been actually using my Xbox a lot over the last few weeks, and half the problem with the old UI for me was that I just didn't use Xbox enough to get the muscle memory. But this is definitely more intuitive than it used to be. It does feel more like I know if I'm on a certain page, I get why this page exists rather than, oh, there's a code. You redeem a code in this weird corner. I could play a game in this weird corner. Here's how I get to Netflix. It's way more. It makes more sense now. And I've been playing Evil Within 2 and Cuphead and what's the last one? I've been playing South Park, or I was going to play South Park on Xbox, but I downloaded it recently. And so I've actually been using it more. I'm getting more muscle memory with it, and I like it a lot more. I wonder why they didn't do this 3 years ago.
I feel like this is with the, I guess the current or last UI. Wait, is this now implemented, this new UI?
Yeah.
Okay.
As of yes, 2 days ago.
Cool. The last one, I feel like it was super reliant on like buttons and triggers. Like in order to pull up your games, I think it was like right trigger. And that in itself is too demanding, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's a menu. I should be able to
clear at a glance.
Yeah, like I mean, I should just be able to use the stick and get anywhere as quickly as possible. Like I think the triggers were both like, settings and like all these things. So yeah, when you did load it up, I don't know, I just never got the hang of it.
It's so like image heavy. I mean, PlayStation is just these like uniform squares with that PlayStation font. All of this is all the individual, like you still see the cover art in the squares on the game, but then you go down into it and it's everything, you go to TV and apps, it's the PlayStation, or it's the TV that like Sony designed or whatever. It just makes it's more uniform and cohesive, I would say.
I do also like the pinning a game works more smoothly on this. Like I was trying that because I've been playing Wolfenstein New Order through again before New Colossus, and I've been playing that on Xbox, playing South Park on Xbox also. And I was just pinning those things because my pins are pretty outdated. I still had the first Destiny pin and stuff like that. And I did find that easier, and like scrolling through that was better, and finding like the things that I wanted to, the apps I wanted to use right away, like Netflix, Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
And then like whatever game I'm playing. So they're getting there, I think.
Anthony Lal on the YouTube chat was saying, man, this just makes me appreciate the simplicity of Switch's UI even more.
Yeah.
Switch is
I
really
love
good,
the
too.
Switch UI.
Switch is like an even more basic PlayStation almost.
I find the
aside
Switch
from
UI
its-
prettier
Yeah.
also.
I mean, the biggest, I think, I don't know if you guys already said it, but like, yeah, just having the last UI just had the store, right? Like 2/3 of the screen was like an ad.
Yep.
It was just like,
Yeah, it's
No.
easier. So you go to store, and then the redeem code thing is much easier now. That used to be a pain.
That's like a problem for us more than most normal people, I feel like.
Yeah,
but
how many
Redeem
codes?
code, yeah.
Right, yeah.
That definitely has been sort of like
Right.
a thorn in my side.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I would definitely say this upgrades the Xbox dashboard from like a D to a C+, B- maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're getting
what's going on now?
I don't know.
It was like
It's just like live
3 or
tournaments. Yeah, I have no idea. It's very layered.
This is also probably not a widespread thing, but it was also easier to look at your achievements, and I liked that.
Yeah.
And it's easier to look at Larry Herb as well.
Yeah.
Larry.
Yeah.
I went to the
Oh
same
yeah,
school
this
as
comes
him.
with it. Yeah.
He's a Syracuse alum.
Did he give you noogies?
Interesting little tidbit.
Hi.
Yeah,
it looks like you're trying to load up
Give me a
Cuphead.
swirly. It is incredibly easy to turn on the voice, not the voice commands, but like I'm assuming
Text
for
to speech?
Yes, it's a very creepy voice as well. It's not Larry's. It is this like tinselly robot that says games and apps, Mixer, community, playing The Evil Within 2. And I didn't know how to turn it off because I don't even know how I turn it on. All you do is press the guide button and then press start. That's why it was so easy, because I was trying to get out of it. So I pressed start, and all of a sudden this weird man was in my bedroom. Cool. So again, if you haven't updated your Xbox recently, if you plan on using it soon, update to that dashboard. It's much better, in my opinion.
Looks like you're trying to load up Cuphead. Let me show you the store first.
There's a tutorial to get into the game's tutorials now. Pete,
Yes.
bit of a weird, kind of curious situation going on with GT Sport. You've been playing it a little bit before. So it's out as of yesterday.
Yes.
Tuesday the 17th.
Yeah, and there was a demo out last week that gave me access to a lot of modes in the game. So the bottom line is there are reviews out for this game. However, we will not be publishing a review until November.
Because it's like a super unique situation in terms of how the game is designed almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been out there that GT Sport is a competitive game first and foremost. But it has also sort of positioned itself as having single-player content to go with it. Well, now the game is out. The single-player content is pretty shallow. It's not that long. And really what it does is it serves, despite being called a campaign, it's really just training to teach you how to get better at driving and how to understand tracks a little bit better. And what it's training you for are these championships. And these championships don't kick off until early November, hence why we're waiting. And everything sort of feeds into your progress as a player, which will then determine how you are ranked, where you are placed when these championships begin. And there's a few different things that sort of dictate that. One of them being the sportsmanship ranking. And this is a point that, it also makes me consider, is this game ready for review? Because basically what this does is it tracks how you act on the track with other drivers around you, and will sort of say, oh, he's a polite driver, he's responsible, or he's a pain in the ass, chaotic bastard. And they will sort of group people together. Now, one of the concerns I have is that, if you hit someone, obviously you should be penalized for that. If someone hits you, I don't think that it's necessarily your fault, but the game will treat it as though you are part of the problem. So right now there's a lot of questions in terms of like, okay, this game goes through all these hoops to make you a polite driver, but does it actually enforce that, or is it sort of this community, supposed to encourage the community to enforce it? It's up to the players to be good people, because if everyone's a shithead, it's not going to make any difference.
Which is usually the case.
Well, I think the community behind this game is very passionate and is very knowledgeable about why these rules are in place. And you do see people who try their best and succeed at being polite. You also see people who are jerks. And unfortunately, that can immediately ruin a race, and that can also ruin your chances for placing in these tournaments. So there are a few things at play, most notably being that the things that this game is presenting haven't had enough time to really be tested to the extent that they demand you to take them seriously. So I will say this game it feels incredible behind the wheel. I really love racing in this game. I'm a little disappointed by the lack of single player content. Like, that said, I'm also very impressed with the sort of ambitious mission that Polyphony Digital and Sony have set out for this game, which is, to make it essentially a racing esport that's governed by a real world racing organization, like the biggest one out there. And I don't think that's really been done before. And it could be something really special and really cool, but it's not clear yet if that is successful. And given that this game is sort of, geared towards that track alone at the moment, I really don't know that we can issue a review and give people a clear understanding of whether or not this game succeeds. I can give a personal recommendation about is what's there good right now, but it's filled with caveats. It's filled with, exceptions and buts.
But you think it is worth checking out right now? If you're not, but assume
if you just want a single player experience, don't buy this game.
If you're recommending now for people who want to get into the whole tournaments, esport kind of stuff,
who want to take it as more seriously than any other racing game out there, except with the exception of like iRacing. Like iRacing is probably the only other series that really demands as much, not just performance, but behavior and commitment and stuff like that. And on the note of commitment, it's a little disappointing to see some of the confusion surrounding the competitive aspects that are enabled in the game right now. So you can get into lobbies with people, you can make your own lobby. There's no automatic matchmaking. So like trying to find a casual race with other people is pretty tough. But every 20 minutes, you're guaranteed to hop into one of 3, I hate this, daily races. And these cycle every 20 minutes. One race opens up after another. That part's fine. It's, in the mindset of, hey, I'm trying to train and get better at these tracks. I'm trying to, whatever, learn the system. And yes, advance my profile both as a driver and a responsible sportsman. That's fine. But the problem is these daily races are not refreshed daily.
So that makes no sense.
When they say, precisely, when they say daily, what they mean is you can play these every day. You should play these every day.
Wolfenstein 2 is also a daily game.
Yeah, precisely.
So it almost sounds like
they're refreshed weekly. That is the plan.
It
and you get
sounds-
3 tracks. So again, fixed intervals, 20
sounds
minutes.
like a good idea. Maybe EA should take a page out of their book and make that Star Wars game kind of similar.
Look, I don't want to disparage what Gran Turismo is trying to do, but I do want to hold off our review until I can say whether or not they've succeeded.
Okay.
Wasn't there also yesterday you were waiting for 10 minutes in a lobby and then you were going to get in the race and you didn't have the right thing to race, but it didn't warn you?
Yeah, I waited about 15 minutes to get into a race. This wasn't part of the daily races section. This was part of the lobby system where I was trying to join someone's lobby. I got in and they need 16 people, so I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for 16 people to join. That finally happens, and then it gets to the next screen and it's like, oh yeah, you need dirt tires. You don't have any cars with dirt tires. Sorry, you're out. The game could have told me that ahead of time. It could have not let me into that race ahead of time because the parameters are set before you create a lobby. So there are a few little issues. I think the game has some silly qualities, but they don't really impact the idea of racing. Which again, this game feels excellent behind the wheel. I've tried playing Project Cars on Forza recently. I enjoy Forza, maybe more than Project Cars, but when it comes down to the actual feel of racing, Gran Turismo is, at the moment, my favorite. I'm not a hardcore sim racing guy, but I have played Gran Turismo since the beginning, and the game is as good as it's ever been on the track.
People are asking, being a racing game, they can't tell through the stream as much because of encoding and whatnot. How does this game look in-game?
So right now, I've been playing it on 1440p monitor on a PlayStation Pro with quality over frame rate. And it's not an HDR monitor. I've heard that this is like one of the best games for HDR out there. I haven't seen that yet, unfortunately. But I will say cars look amazing. Replays look really good. The environments are less impressive than I hoped for.
That's what I mean, again, from our feed here, and I'm sure for the stream, is like vegetation looks a little stiff.
There's no like weather or light cycle. You basically will play a track at like a fixed time of day, and the lighting is fixed as well. So you don't get too much dynamic. You get a lot of like dynamic reflections, like off of cars and stuff like that. But it's not like you're seeing like the sun like pass over the clouds or anything to that effect. So the lighting is pretty sterile in a lot of ways. And there's also like any track that has buildings on it. The buildings look very flat. But again, I've seen some screenshots in HDR, and I'm like, this looks like the way that this game was meant to be played. It was developed with that first in mind, as far as I can tell. So outside of HDR, it does leave something to be desired. But when you're driving 140 miles per hour, it's also not a major concern of mine. I don't worry about that too much. It sounds really good. It's got excellent sound.
It's so weird, the state of this game right now. Not that the game itself is unfinished, but it almost like it's not ready to be played as it was meant to be played, I would say.
Well, so that's the thing, right? Is as it's meant to be played is, they have this system that needs to have organic sort of segmentation of the audience, and that does take time. If they just had a championship right now, that would feel weird because everyone would just be in the same pool, and it would be as chaotic as it feels today, the day after launch.
Yeah.
A couple weeks from now, if that system works as intended, things should be better, and that to me is the right time to launch that part of it. I will say the single player content, the way that it's pitched within the game, is dubious because it's really not a campaign as much as it really is training.
Yeah.
A campaign means something different to me, which is not a list of challenges that put you in very hyper-specific scenarios and test your ability to complete those things at very specific windows of time.
It's weird. I'm not much of a racing game fan, but I was optimistic about this, at least as an outsider looking in, because we had Kazunori Yamauchi, the creator of the series from Polyphony. He came on our E3 stage to talk about how they actually, because the game was originally supposed to release, was it earlier this year or last year?
Last year, I believe.
And they delayed it, he said, because they want to make sure it's complete when they release it.
Which, who knows what that means?
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I just assumed like it would be.
Yeah, like by whose standards?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, by what standards, I guess.
Right. And
Yeah.
one of the weird things is the car selection is very slim right now. It's
250, you said?
No.
Oh no.
It's about 160, but that includes multiple, like sometimes up to 4 variants of the same car within a single manufacturer.
Which
so it's
is
closer to like 80.
That's
distinct cars.
BS. You know what I mean?
It's BS.
Like,
I mean,
to say a number, but it's like the only difference is what, like a spoiler, like
Yeah.
on like said car, or like.
well, I mean, there's lots of different tuning involved, and the thing is that these cars are based on real world builds. So for the right person, these cars may feel distinct.
Yeah.
But I think it takes a sort of an elevated passion and knowledge base to really see what's there and appreciate it for what it is. Now, again, I'm not a sim racer, but I can appreciate what's in there. But I think even if you were a sim racer, you might not know the difference between 5 different Lancers that, one was shown at the Geneva Auto Convention and one was shown, like, that's all really cool factoids. And I like the idea that the game can be so nuanced. But in practice, it doesn't feel like there's an appreciable difference between the rewards I'm getting. That being cars.
They should just put like another 100 cars, but in loot crates.
I'm
kidding. I'll stop.
One of the fun things about Gran Turismo in the past was the idea that you could ride a car that had, I said it in my stupid preview that everyone hates, that has more character than horsepower. You know what I mean? For fun. It's not about being the best racer in the fastest racing class in the world. It's literally just about engaging with automobiles in a way that you find perhaps relaxing, but you can still be competitive. So I think even though they're going for this really serious thing with GT Sport, which is totally cool, it wouldn't hurt to also have a more casual competitive environment as well. So when I think of a complete game, I think of something that can cater, not to every audience, because if you try to be that democratic, you'll never get anything out, but at least something to, if you're going to have a single player mode, quote unquote, campaign, back that up. Show that there is something for the person who doesn't strive to be the #1 Gran Turismo player in the world.
The casual just wants to relax a little bit.
Yeah. Even if that means racing against others online. You can get go-karts. That's the thing that was in, I think it started with 6. It might have been 5.
Just visualizing golf carts for a second.
I wish.
Sorry.
Grand Theft Auto. Of course, you can take it too far. I think Gran Turismo 6 had a moon rover that you could drive on the moon in 0 gravity and tip over with the smallest mistake.
That's cool.
It's cool in theory. It's a bit like, okay, this is beyond the scope of the game. Maybe it's not necessary. And I don't think something like that is necessary here. But
it's not very realistic, too.
Huh?
It's not very realistic.
Houston?
Downshift to 3rd gear, please.
Houston, I'm going to take a breather.
Houston, you just gave me a duplicate. Sorry, I'm done.
You're not. He's
I don't
so
know if you were
not
going to say
done.
something. I was going to ask, I don't know if you already touched on it or not, but you mentioned like the tournaments and how they work, or the championships. Aren't they like set times of day, or like
so it's like November 3rd, November 4th, and November 7th are the 3 upcoming championships.
And then what happens after that? Then I wait till
More
Then
tournaments.
you wait. Then you practice some more and you wait.
and then it's what
Damn, that is
then it's the
really
game that
hardcore.
you're describing right now.
It's sort of back to this phase.
It sounds like waiting for an Iron Banner, except way less to do in the interim.
That's essentially the case.
That's a reductive way to put it, but just
but
to be relevant, I guess.
that essentially makes sense. As a single player, you basically only have the ability to unlock cars and improve your skill. The game hands out cars pretty readily, and again, if the cars aren't that different, you start to sort of feel this apathy from one car to the next. It doesn't really feel like a significant change in your experience.
It's still a Prius, even though you put a bright red spoiler on it.
I wish there was a Prius in this game. No, I actually
what's
don't.
the time frame of like the next, like are they saying like every month they're
No,
gonna
they haven't said, and they do have a calendar in the game, but it doesn't show anything beyond the first 3 championships, which are the same week.
What if I'm on vacation those 3 days? Like in real life.
Real drivers don't go on vacation.
This is
your job now.
This is the mentality, right? It's the same reason why they push sportsmanship to be so seriously, because in the real world, you wouldn't edge someone off the track and potentially risk their life in a $1 million car. You wouldn't do that, and so why would you do it here? Likewise, if you're serious about this, you make yourself available.
Just imagining Kazunori Yamauchi like Fulton recovering you out of a resort in Hawaii to bring you back here to train.
It's dangling keys.
I do want to ask, and this might be an irritating question, but bear with me. What would you say to people who are like, well, if that's not you, if you don't want to be a serious racer, then why not play Forza or Project Cars?
Yeah, no.
or
If you
Dirt?
don't want to be a serious racer, I wouldn't recommend this game.
Right. But like, I personally really like games that can scale the challenge and the variety of activities to kind of each person's individual play style. I like when there's more to do than just one way to play a game.
Consider this like League of Legacy. What the hell? League of Legends? Consider this like Dota. There's a very high barrier to success here.
Yeah.
And there really isn't any concern for lowering that beyond, hey, you guys drive like assholes, you drive together and leave us to do the real racing.
Right.
Now there is sort of like this pitch down the road that, oh no, we're going to beef up the single player campaign, yada, yada, yada. Yamauchi's words. When that's coming, if it'll cost anything, what it will entail, it's difficult to say. There may come a time when this game can do that. But presently that's not the case in my experience.
But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like like, is there necessarily anything wrong with that, or is that just, are we just talking in terms of the review and like recommending it to people?
I mean, right now I'm discussing, I guess, the reasons why I'm not reviewing it today.
Right.
And perhaps giving a PSA for anyone who might think that, oh, Gran Turismo, I know Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Your past experience doesn't really inform what's going on here.
I drove that Rover on the moon. That was rad.
It's a very different game now in that regard.
So review sometime in the coming weeks once you've got a better handle, or like once you actually tried out tournaments and multiplayer updates and whatnot.
Yeah.
Daily, weekly races.
Right. I mean, so like the game gives you sort of like a daily workout regimen, which requires about 90 minutes or so to pass, and you can do that in various ways. And
Every day?
well, yeah, you don't have
Dang.
to. It's really just like a mile count. So it depends
right.
on
Okay.
how much road you cover.
It's like a Sony Fitbit.
Sure. And you know, in that regard, I have enjoyed, since the demo, picking it up and playing it for a little bit. And I have seen improvements in my skill. I have not seen a reflection of my efforts to be a polite racer and still win races pay off in any sort of advancement with the online profiles, which is a little disappointing, if I'm honest, because I am doing my best. I am
Right.
seeing people not try their best, and it's impacting me in a way that has presently held me back from advancing out of that pool.
I mean, I feel like that's actually more of a big deal than it even sounds, because that's like a main core conceit of the tournament structure is how sportsmen like you are.
Precisely. But, you know, I don't know if a couple days is enough time for that system to sort of do its
Right.
thing. And ultimately, it's really going to result in the championship stuff. And, like, if I put forth an honest effort to get there, to get to that point, and it doesn't feel like it was worth it, and I don't mean I don't get first. I mean, it doesn't feel like the things that I was hoping for relative to my skill are there. That'll be a problem. I also have to consider if it's worth, if it's something I can do, because I have to manage all the reviews on site and do other reviews as well. So right now the plan is for me to review it. That may change as time develops, but ultimately we are going to wait until November to publish our review, and that will be once these systems get the time they need.
Cool.
Yeah.
So GT Sport is out now, but we will have, along with a few other sites, a more concrete opinion once we get to try that stuff out in the coming weeks as November kicks off. I want to get into the Evil Within 2 before we get to South Park and then the unfortunate Visceral closing. Evil Within 2, I think I'm on chapter 10 now out of 17, I believe, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Yes.
This game is, so I read through Alessandro's review, I liked it, but I still didn't really... I don't know. I wasn't super amped for it because I liked the first one. The first one had 15 chapters, and I always tell everybody I love the first 10, hate the last 5. That's when like on rails turret sequences kick in. Very bad final boss fight. Really dumb, kind of obscure puzzle solving. This game I like it a lot. Obviously, Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil fame is the executive producer on this. He founded Tango Gameworks, who makes these games, and then Bethesda's publishing them. Sebastian Castellano, still not the best voice acting, still not the best written story at all, but the game itself, the way it's structured, it's just all these sandbox environments where the survival aspects matter way more because it's a one big environment where you're going between objectives and doing mini side quests. And it's almost like if you took the village from the beginning of Resident Evil 4 and expanded that into like a bunch of these sandboxes, or there was like a village survival part in the first Evil Within, which I think that is that game at its best. If you did the Marguerite boss fight in Resident Evil 7.
Margarita.
Yes. But
Sorry, I like to drink.
the spider lady, when you're fighting her, it's kind of this open-ended environment where you get to fight. But I'm playing more of this game, and it's Nick Margarita and Jake were both talking about yesterday how it's clunky, and I agree. And it feels like The Last of Us, these suburban environments where you kind of can go stealth, or even the way you upgrade yourself and your weapons and crafting is all similar. But I like it a lot. I've like reduced my weapon sway with upgrades. There's a lot to find. Obviously, there are Easter eggs like other Bethesda properties. You could find Corvo Attano's masks, a Vault Tech, Vault Boy bobblehead. But I really, really like it. It does give me like flashbacks to Resident Evil 4, of course, third person, kind of over the shoulder survival horror. This survival, I really want to play in the classic mode. You only get 7 saves, and there's no auto saving, so that's more like save rooms from the earlier Resident Evil games. Jean-Luc, I think, is starting that. I don't know how far he's gotten, but me and him are pretty stoked about that because we're both survival horror fans.
Yeah.
And I know Jean-Luc played Resident Evil 7 on the Madhouse difficulty. I think survival horror games are very good on their hardest difficulties. I think that's when they really get their tenets across. Coffee, of course, refills your health all the way. Whatever, they took some
Naturally.
shortcuts. Yeah.
It's a very Twin Peaks thing, and I've seen also the that it looks like the room, the red room, is that what it's called? Or the red cabin, whatever.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Velvet
Persona.
Anyway,
game.
there's a very Twin Peaks environment in this game as well.
Yeah.
You got the letterboxing here when you go back to Beacon Mental Hospital. So it's all taking place like in this psychological environment again. The writing is it's weird. It starts off like it's very serious, and I'm like, this is dumb. But then it gets self-aware enough. So last night, if you played Resident Evil 4, not to keep making that comparison, but you played Resident Evil 4, you know the shooting range and the bottle cap system. There's a shooting range in this as well. And if you get like the highest score, enough points to get the highest reward, like 10,000 green gel to upgrade your character or 2,500 weapon parts, Tatiana, the nurse, will say, Sebastian, you're the best around. And he'll be like, nothing's going to ever keep me down. And I'm like, what
That makes me want to die.
I know. But it's weird because at a certain point, the game becomes way more self-aware and dumb about itself. Like when you, right here, actually, this part, no, not this part, but you walk out of this one building looking for the villain, and he's like, now I just need to figure out where he went. And then he looks up in the sky at this giant spider thing. He's like, I think I just figured it out.
See,
Within
that doesn't make me want to die.
seconds.
That's good.
It's really funny. And there are some creepy parts, too. It's nothing revolutionary as far as horror goes, but it's creepy.
Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I was gonna say like I've been hearing, I get scared. I get scared. Shut up. I get scared pretty easy, and that's why I don't know.
He's already scared.
There's something about I just don't want to like put myself through it sometimes. I mean, I can handle it, but
Yeah.
I hear this game is not as scary as maybe people were led to believe, or
No, it's more. There's some jump scares, but I wouldn't say it's anything
horror.
It's not
It is.
frightening,
It
it's
is
just-
way more. It's not like Resident Evil 7 was creepier, scarier. Silent Hills obviously was. PT was way scarier,
Yeah.
but this is
Yeah.
more.
PT
This
still
is
messes
more
me
about
up.
the over-the-shoulder kind of survival action with a little bit of horror dressing. The villain is essentially Sander Cohen from BioShock. The one is it Sander Cohen at Fort Frolic who takes all the photos of the dead people as art.
Sure.
That's
I don't
essentially this
remember,
villain.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Sander Cohen. No, that's wrong.
You and your autobiographical memory.
or
It's-
Jude Law
Yeah,
from
no, I
Road to
don't
Perdition.
remember.
Jean-Luc might pipe in.
Sander Cohen.
Sander Cohen, right?
Pipe
okay,
in.
cool. Thank you, Jean-Luc. That's Fort Frolic, one of the better parts in BioShock, right? And that's kind of the villain here.
I mean, I do
Not to
like
spoil it.
that concept, but I want to go back to talking about like the resemblance or the similarities to Resident Evil 4 and like The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're pretty far in, it sounds like, or maybe a little
a little
over
more than
halfway.
halfway, yeah.
How does it feel like contrived, or does it feel like it lends a fresh perspective to those things? Because it's like, I loved The Last of Us. I don't need another game to try to be The Last of Us,
Yeah.
right? I love survival horror, but it's a genre that can get very,
Samey.
paint by numbers.
It can be rote in this game for
Yeah.
sure. I think the way I would describe it is if you play Resident Evil 4 and love the village scene and love the fort scene where you're kind of surviving within this sandbox, or if you played The Last of Us and rather than something very linear where you're going from one area to the next, you are given the time to explore and find mini side quests. If you like that, you will love this game because this game is essentially, from what I've played, just one of those after the other. You can spend 4 hours here in Town Square, 4 hours at City Hall. That's over exaggerating. You won't spend that much time there. Randomly, there will be side quests where something like this.
Me.
Yeah, she's kind of. I don't know if it was Jean-Luc or
Annoying.
Alessandro. I think it was Jean-Luc. Maybe I might be putting words in his mouth. We're all talking and we're all finding stuff and doing side quests that like the other people didn't, which is cool because the first game was very linear. These chapters are kind of misleading because 2 chapters will take place within like this first town square sandbox. It's not Crimson City anymore; it's Union. But again, it's all this. It's been said in the trailer.
Yeah.
Sebastian's looking for his daughter.
But there's optional side questy stuff
right.
within that.
Yeah, and
structure.
finding ostensibly you could not get the sawed-off shotgun, at least as far as I am, and I took the time to do all the side stuff. The crossbow is more apparent, and that's like the famous crossbow from the first game with exploding bolts, smoke
Right.
bolts, shock bolts, harpoons. The sawed-off shotgun I just kind of came across within like the underground network. That is like the back end, like the matrix of the place you're in. I forget the name of it. It's like an animus from Assassin's Creed.
Stem.
Yeah.
The stem, thank you. But it's great. I like it a lot. I'm enjoying it now that I've played much more of it over the weekend. I don't know. Did you guys get the chance to play any of it?
No, I really want. It's the sort of game my girlfriend would love to watch me play.
Yeah.
She won't play games with me necessarily, but she likes watching me play some, and I really want to play that with her.
Yeah.
But time.
Yeah.
Time's too expensive right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem. There's a lot of games that are competing for my attention, and I just, because I don't know what I've heard about. Not that like I disagree with like the things that you like about it. I just like what I've heard about it has not captured me in a way that's like, okay, I need to set aside the other things I'm playing to make time for this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I will say, I think if you liked the first game, we'd have a question here from Redfield on Twitter, which
Nice.
is kind
Chris?
of appropriate. Yeah, Redfield on Twitter, Redfield70x7, pretty constant friend of the show, said, "Is a playthrough of The Evil Within prior to jumping in on the second recommended? What level of continuity are we talking here? Thank you." I don't think so. I don't come to this game for the story, so I don't think that's my main priority. And also because the entire first game, I hate to say this, it's not really a spoiler because the trailer for the second game says you're looking for Lily, your daughter. Essentially, in the first game, you think she died in this fire, and that's what he's grappling with at this mental hospital. And now in the second game, they're just taking the first game and making it even more batshit crazy. So I don't think that's necessary. I think, like any sequel, it will help if you play the predecessor. But I
But
don't
it
think it's
perhaps
necessary.
supersedes that game, right?
Yeah, it's almost. I'm trying to think of the last sequel that just pretty much threw the entire not the entire plot, but like the ending out the
Is it
window.
like just retconning the ending almost, where it's like, oh, remember all this? Well, never mind that.
There's enough exposition, more than enough exposition in The Evil Within 2 to supplement your lack of familiarity with the first game.
So you could read like a plot synopsis on Wikipedia and then jump right in.
Yes, and if you've played The Last of Us, Resident Evil 4, even like Dead Space to some degree, which we'll get to later on the show.
Oh.
Yeah, this will be familiar to you, but like I said, if you like those open-ended sandbox environments from those games, this is just that times 10. So nothing revolutionary at all, but it's an iteration on that, and that's why I'm enjoying it. And like any survival game, it's just hard to put down. Because if you're not like coming up to a huge story beat, there's like tons of stuff to scavenge, and it's very well paced.
God, I
and it's
love
also cute.
scavenging. It's one of my favorite game
in
activities.
real life.
I
Yeah.
love looting.
Yeah.
What was in that garbage can over there?
Yeah. What's in this crate?
Maybe like a legendary
Oh
star
my
card or
God, you did
something.
it again.
I know. Evil Within 2, I highly recommend it. Alessandro already has. He put up his review on GameSpot early last week, maybe even 2 weeks ago at this point. It came out October 13th.
Who can never be sure.
Well, we were going to talk about it last week, but we hadn't fully played it.
I want to
because
say it was Thursday.
the review went up Thursday, correct.
Yes.
So last week, Thursday. But that's up on GameSpot, up on YouTube, the video review if you want to go check that out. Go read that to get more in depth. I know Jean-Luc and Joey both did like an Easter egg video, and Jean-Luc's working on, I think at some point, Jean-Luc's doing a couple episodes of a show coming up. I don't know if he wants me to tease him or not. 3D Mario History of, and Wolfenstein.
is what.
So
I know.
if he didn't want me to, I just did anyway. Sorry, Jean-Luc. But he's also working on like a classic mode, which is 7 saves period at these stations, harder enemies, more survival focused. I really want to play that when I have time. Evil Within 2 is great, surprisingly. I do also want to kind of segue into EA's pivot recently with Visceral. Came up yesterday, I believe, on Glixel. I think it was Brian Crescenti, the first one to start that published something about the patent that Activision filed back in 2015.
Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know.
So
That
let me
doesn't bother
pull
so
this up.
much, but-
Right. Let me fill you in. So the headline from
Fill me
Glixel
in.
was Activision researched using matchmaking tricks to sell in-game items.
Basically, using players as advertisers.
Right. So as they describe it, here's if you're watching live right now or on YouTube, you can see the article right here. Again, this is by Brian Crescenti over at Glixel, Rolling Stone's gaming site. Activision was granted a patent this month for a system it uses to convince people in multiplayer games to purchase items for a game through microtransactions. Activision did tell Glixel that the technology is not currently in any game. So to clarify, just for B-roll purposes, I think we'll have Call of Duty World War II up, any number of Activision titles. But again, just to double down, this system is not in use in any current Activision games that they told Glixel. But and Bungie also confirmed to Glixel that the technology is not being used in Destiny 2. But to describe the system, it essentially, like you just said, was that you or you? Pete, you just said that they
Peter.
kind of use.
I said.
That was you?
No.
You
That was
son
me.
of
A better
bitch.
player, say a better player kills you. It's almost like you mentioned in
The star
Battlefront
card
2.
thing that you were talking about.
You were saying like if like a TIE fighter blows you up and then you see that has 3 legendary cards, this system essentially has the capability to purposely pair you with very, very good players with good loot to encourage you to be like, shit, I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like it's not a level playing field. So it will purposely pair you with marquee players, according to the wording in the patent. For
so
example,
you can get jealous.
Yes,
Yeah,
and then you'll feel the need
inspired
to pay.
Yeah.
According to Activision, in the patent, it says, for example, in one implementation, the system may include a microtransaction engine that arranges matches to influence game-related purchases. For instance, the microtransaction engine may match a more expert/marquee player with a junior player to encourage that junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed or used by the marquee/expert player. A junior player may wish to emulate that player by obtaining weapons or other items used by that player. So it was what you were afraid of with Battlefront 2. If you said they're showing that's what Battlefront 2, we can't say that Battlefront 2 implements this system, but in the case that a much better player kills you and you see they have 3 legendary cards, that's essentially what would happen with this system, except on purpose on the game's part.
Exactly.
It's like an algorithm.
Like this could happen right now with so many games.
Yeah.
This article is just, or this patent is saying that like we're gonna enforce it, which is crazy to think because it's so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Where so many games have been frustrating. Like I'm trying to think of one example. Like can't remember, but like Titanfall kind of had this problem where I felt like I was getting consistently paired up with like really good players, and hope you'd like to think the next match will be like, hey, you kind of played like shit. Let's put you with some other shitty people. Like
Yeah.
And Splatoon have really good matchmaking.
Splatoon implements that pretty well.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing with like a friend who's really high level, then you might get your ass kicked. But
that's all. Isn't that aesthetic stuff? Is Splatoon mainly cosmetic?
The emphasis is on looking good, I think, in Splatoon, but you do have specific abilities, and it'll tell you what you got killed with. I mean, a lot of games tell you what you got killed with.
yeah.
Like that's not new at all. The problem here is that it would be on purpose to make you buy something that I guess honestly, like normally when I play a game and I see what I got killed with, I'm like, oh, so that's the meta weapon. That's the weapon everybody's using. Like in Destiny, it's like, oh, everyone's using Uriel's gift or whatever.
Or Mida, right?
Yeah.
So,
but you can get that without buying it. And it's not like it's going to be like, we only put Mida players in this match to make you think you need Mida to be good.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Like, oh man, when Battlefront comes out, and God, if that's going to be the first thing that happens, the first person that kills me is a guy flying by in an X-wing with 3 legendary cards. He's like, "Sup?" I'll be like,
peace out.
And I haven't even gotten the slots yet to have cards.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it would be annoying and make you jealous.
Guess I better
according
buy
to
some
Activision,
Sorry.
Activision told Glixel this was an exploratory patent filed in 2015 by an R&D team working independently from our game studios. It has not been implemented in-game. There's one more example that the patent mentioned. Let me see. In a particular example, the junior player may wish to become an expert sniper in a game, for example, as determined from the player profile. According to the patent, the microtransaction engine may match the junior player with a player that is a highly skilled sniper in the game. In this manner, the junior player may be encouraged to make game-related purchases such as a rifle or other item used by the marquee sniper player. So that's getting into like really nitty-gritty stuff. Like based on your loadouts across this profile, we know you want to be good at sniping, so we're going to use that. And again, this isn't being used right now, but this is like what it's essentially saying it could be used for. We know you want to be a good sniper, so we're going to use that to promote certain items to you and also put you in. It also says that they could potentially be put in game types or on maps that also are very sniper friendly.
Or like, why not just get good? Like I just like, it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating when it seems or feels like you would be good if only you had a certain weapon.
Right.
Whereas like, I know like we just used the Mida example in Destiny, but people like going with green basic ass weapons and they do well, and it's about skill. And that's something that I liked about the Crucible a lot, is that you don't technically need those things, and it actually, like, I've been killed by super basic weapons and I was like, oh, okay, I guess me doing that Mida quest wasn't the only thing I needed to do to win. Right. And the idea that like the thing that upsets me most about this patent, besides the like targeted ads basically within the game that you already bought, is the idea that this game, it fits a certain kind of game design that would make it so you needed the correct gear to win, which just irritates me. That just irks me. It's like it's not about skill at all.
It's something I always assumed, and I'm not shocked that this exists. It's something I assumed was happening, but now like you see it on Facebook, obviously targeted ads across. Well, anytime you're on the
Google
internet.
knows everything about you.
Yes, it's not shocking to see games using it, but it's just seeing the actual patent and reading it in the patent's words and what Activision said to Glixel. The thing I want to ask
now you're further thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's what is like the frustrating part.
Yeah.
It's evidence of all the things that we always suspect is that the publisher's mindset when it comes to a video game has changed so dramatically that it's become about this sort of subtle manipulation versus funding a great game. I mean, it's not news that games are a bigger business than ever and they're trying to, make more money. But this just sort of is like, this is it on paper. This is them saying that.
Yeah.
the writing's on the wall, but this is them.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. It's like owning up to it. I mean, because like games being designed in a way to make more money it dates back to arcades. I mean, that's not like a new thing. I mean, making a game more difficult so you spend more money on the machine.
But this is like weird, like meta manipulation.
Well, I'm just saying, like this. We know that's not new.
Right,
this is like a different level of like
a good arcade game can be made difficult, but be made difficult in a way that compels you to want to keep playing.
Exactly.
It's not just like, oh, I died, so I feel like I need to put more money in. This is sort of this takes it to a different sort of path. In my mind, it's a different path.
I mean, that's what I was getting at is like to feel like, oh, I need to buy something to get better because no matter how much I practice or how much I put into improving, my skill is not going to matter. Is basically what I was getting at. Yeah.
My last question before we get on to Visceral. I don't know, Pete, does this, in addition to things with Shadow of War recently, Forza 7, what am I missing? Battlefront 2, which we spoke about last week on the lobby, does this kind of worry you that, again, like you just mentioned, this very well could be, stuff like this is probably being used in games already, but the fact that now we just see it in writing, does this kind of worry you about stuff going forward?
It worries... It makes me worry for the people who really like these sort of games.
Yeah.
I'm not huge into multiplayer competitive stuff like all the time. So I can easily walk away from something like this. I got plenty of games with like excellent stories that I can't wait to interact with, things like that. So for me personally, I don't think I'm ever going to run out of good games to play. Mm-hmm. But I do think it is a problem that will affect a lot of people and will have a negative impact if this is a directive that is sort of seen through and taken to its logical conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
It worries me when I think about like a 12-year-old. I think I said it last time. Like someone that's literally like my main concern is like there's you're 10, you're 12, like you don't own a house, you don't
pay rent, you don't have a job.
Maybe it's your mom's credit card, but like there are going to be cases where it's just a kid or someone who hasn't experienced life or grown up to like manage money.
Or
like
just realize what this is at face value.
Right.
Like understand the emotions that they're feeling and why they're feeling.
Exactly.
My little brother would have, if this had been around when he was 12, I mean, he would have spent so much money on this and it would have been a huge problem. Like I know that for a fact. And luckily he just missed that because he's an adult now.
I mean, if you're like 21 right now, you could have disposable income to spend on this stuff too. And even if you're even if you know better.
Yeah. Cause maybe you're in college, you don't really pay your own rent in full yet, stuff like that. You don't really understand how much money is worth.
You start justifying because that's the thing is it's just $1.
Yeah.
It's just a couple dollars. And I'm for Battlefront, like I said last time, like if there has I think they actually resigned that thought. Remember earlier where I was saying, because one of the early systems they said was the best cards in the game, the legendaries you can only open or get in a loot crate.
Revamped a lot of that, but
I think they're pulling that back. I guess what I'm saying is like, hey, if I'm guaranteed a legendary in this loot crate, that's a win-win. That's $1. Cool.
Right. Like how many?
And then it's like, well, I'll just get a couple more. It wasn't my favorite card. I mean, I'm looking for a TIE fighter, so maybe $30, $20. I don't know. Over the course of a couple months, like this is $1, $1 a day.
To go back to the Taco Bell example of last week, just think about how many tacos you could buy with all of those dollars you're spending.
And like right now, opposed to like, milking a cow and making your own cheese.
Yes.
I love how you were crunching your nose when you were doing that. Like you were getting like real into it.
I just
Real
really
nerdy.
loved the Taco Bell metaphor from last week.
Hey, this taco can be yours for free, but you got to make everything yourself. So right around
a
back is
baby
old
calf.
Bessie. Here's old Bessie.
Yeah. No, not old Bessie. Here's a baby calf that you need to first raise.
You got to raise that for a couple
Why
of years.
is that gross? Why was that your first reaction?
Livestock.
Anyway, Stardew
yeah.
Valley is great.
Milking a cow is not gross, but I don't know. Apologies to farmers out there.
And cows.
And cows. And Taco Bell. I don't know. The thing is, people are saying, like, do you think this will stop anytime soon? And I was wondering, maybe the press is getting bad enough that Warner Brothers or Activision or EA will stop it, but holy shit, they make a lot of money off it.
Dude.
I don't see it stopping.
And people are growing up on these kind of games. So
Yeah.
in 10 years, it could be the norm. And, like, we're just those people, those old people on the porch
Back in
yelling
my
for,
day.
get off my lawn, EA. Like, I don't know, like shit like that.
Again, the kid. Like, think about just your typical teenager who's playing. Like, are they really, digging deep into criticisms of games? They know they're gonna get the Call of Duty. They a Star Wars fan is gonna get Battlefront.
Yeah.
Mom, card. Need to buy this gun. Card.
And like you
Just
said, it too,
memorize the number.
there is a that's why another part of it is there's that rush you get when you get that cool item by chance. It's euphoric. It's like if you don't realize you're having that,
I mean, this is
then
why
you're
gambling is
gonna
illegal in a lot of places.
you're gonna keep fulfilling. Yeah,
If I ever have
that's
kids,
addiction.
they're not playing EA games. I'm just kidding.
I
That's super.
the thing that bothers me is these things are going to make money, but not everything that makes a lot of money has been deemed moral or good by society.
Yeah.
And it just is so disheartening to me because it's when that's the thing that determines, when money is the thing that determines everything, I'm just like, all right, well, I like art.
Yeah.
So then
Fidget spinners are pretty cool though. Actually,
No.
no, realistically, they're pretty cool. That makes sense.
objectively.
Speaking of patents, do you know
We all can agree.
Do you know the woman
Pet
who
Rock was amazing.
Speaking of patents, do you know the woman who essentially invented fidget spinners didn't get a patent? So
That's
it was
true.
and same
Yeah.
with this.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's just widespread now.
She's like,
it's
damn
public domain
Just
at
sitting
this
there trying
point.
to think of the next fidget
Yeah.
spinner.
It's going. Yeah.
So let's talk about Visceral because I feel like that's
Yeah,
where we are.
that's probably as good a segue as any into yesterday.
Fidget spinners.
We could have
sorry
done
to-
better, but whatever.
Sorry, I'm trying to get in a more somber mood. Yesterday, Jason Schreier over at Kotaku, I think he was the first one to publish. People had been hearing rumors that EA Visceral. I wasn't super in the loop with this. That EA Visceral was kind of in a bad place. To clarify, a few years ago, we saw that trailer for Star Wars 1313. You're a bounty hunter, third-person, over-the-shoulder action, a la Gears of War in terms of its mechanics, but it was very story-driven, linear. Amy Hennig was the creative director, game director on this game, and she is known obviously for a lot of things, and we'll get into that soon because right now whatever she's doing is kind of on hiatus. But she did Uncharted 1, 2, 3, started on 4. She also did some Legacy of Kain stuff, very story-heavy stuff that would have been into not Battlefront multiplayer focused. This guy looks weird now looking back, but. 1313 was later canceled, and then it said EA Visceral is working on the story-based Star Wars game. And then obviously Respawn has something up their sleeve right now in terms of Star Wars outside of that VR combat game. And also, of course, EA Motive and DICE doing Battlefront 2, which releases very soon, that we just spoke about.
Don't forget the mobile games.
Yeah, and as of yesterday, EA Visceral was shuttered by EA. And they essentially, Patrick Soderlund went on record saying, we've had extensive play testing and we wanted to make a game with a lot of longevity that people would keep coming back to. In its current state, we realized we needed to revamp this game, whatever it was called. It didn't have a name or anything. It was just the EA Visceral game. But essentially he was saying they want to make it more of a games as a service. I'll pull up the actual quote in the meantime. But it is... They're currently shuffling everybody around. I'm assuming probably a lot of people got, just straight up laid off from Visceral. Everybody else being shuffled around. We don't have very specific things to say. Very, very sad for Visceral because I was very much looking forward to that. Me and Jean-Luc just played Dead Space on October 13th last week because it was Dead Space's 9th anniversary and because that's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Damn, it's so coincidental.
Visceral is
that's crazy.
Formerly EA Redwood Shores. They did Lord of the Rings Third Age, which I'll always gush about. They did Return of the King. They did the first Dead Space. Then they became Visceral, did Dead Space 2, 3. They did a lot of great stuff. I'm forgetting more. I have the list up. But essentially, we wanted to talk about the fact that a linear, story-heavy Star Wars game could get shuttered because it wasn't enough of a game as a service.
That a Star Wars game could get shuttered.
Of all IPs,
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
People were on Twitter yesterday. Nick Chester, he does some PR for Epic. He was saying, it sucks, but it's not super surprising. Even with the Star Wars IP, no AAA game is a sure thing. But of all IPs to have, and for them to say, no, not even a Star Wars linear game is enough, if Star Wars isn't enough, what is?
Well, you know what? It might not even be that it's not enough, but that they saw a greater opportunity and they're like, well, we have to go for the greater opportunity.
Yeah.
A la Battlefront 2. Well, loot crates and whatnot. Again, we don't know much about what they're restructuring this to be. In Patrick Soderlund's terminology, he said they're pivoting, which essentially means that a lot of people are losing their jobs and getting moved around.
Speak.
Right.
That's
Because Anthem
very
is clearly already going for the Destiny vibe. This, again, I was saying yesterday on Twitter, and people were like, Anthem, we already knew it was going to be a Destiny-like. I was like, right, but this makes it even more of a red flag if they were going to really lean into this. I was excited for Anthem. Now I'm just how many kind of paywalls am I going to have to get by? Or how many times am I going to have to spend an extra 4 hours rather than pay $5? Again, that's speculation. We don't know much about Anthem, but it's the same publisher, and EA is pivoting toward this kind of microtransaction-y stuff elsewhere. Why shouldn't I be worried about that stuff? What does this mean about the future of single-player AAA linear games if Star Wars isn't even a sure thing?
I think it might be too soon to look at this as the death knell for AAA single-player stuff.
Right.
I think there have been signs that have shown that that's risky for years now.
We got Wolfenstein 2 next week. We got Super Mario Odyssey next week. We've got stuff to look forward to.
Nintendo, you can almost
Nintendo, for
well,
sure.
I would say kind of branch off.
Nintendo balances
It's its
that
own
stuff.
thing,
I
right?
think any company
Nintendo's
that owns
very
their own,
different.
yeah, they own their own platform. They can afford to take risks to
first-party
sell
stuff.
systems.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, people were bringing up well, what about Uncharted? And it's well,
Right.
Uncharted, you could take
System
a loss
seller.
on the development because that would be considered a system seller,
Which will then sell more
because it's
games.
a first-party published game.
Halo
they're making
as well,
money up. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
making money up elsewhere. So it's different, and Nintendo, I think, you really can't compare them in the same way. It's just a different lesson.
Right. But other Japanese companies, you might look at games like Nier and Persona and be like, well, look at those. It's right, but the budgets for those are nothing compared to what they're
Yeah.
working with for an EA Star Wars, single player.
EA Star Wars
Nier-
game is going to have mocap, and it's going to have
Yeah, right. It's gonna be
a
nuts.
really
Nier was
huge
also
budget
this-
for a lot of production stuff.
Yeah. Nier was also Yoko Taro, this cult director. There's a following from the first game. They've been waiting how many years for it? And again, that's not the most gorgeous game. Like you just mentioned, it's not the most
Well,
it's not the deepest game.
it's got style.
It's very good. It's a great game, but it's not, like you said, it's not production value wise as
Right.
heavy as Battlefront
Yeah.
2.
It's not trying to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is for a story game, I feel like the cost for not having it be a living platform or somewhere that's going to continue something that's going to continue to make money for the company, you kind of can't go for photorealism because that's just so expensive. I mean, I would prefer a stylized art direction.
Right.
Because that ages better anyway.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things that with a Star Wars game that would drive the cost up so much that I can see why they would decide to shut down, as heartbreaking as it is.
I do want to pull up the actual. So there's a blog post statement, and then Soderlund also responded to Kotaku, Jason Schreier over there via email with more details. But this is the statement on the blog post from Soderlund. Our Visceral studio has been developing an action-adventure title set in the Star Wars universe. In its current form, it was shaping up to be a story-based linear adventure game. Throughout the development process, we have been testing the game concept with players, listening to the feedback about what and how they want to play, and closely tracking fundamental shifts in the marketplace. It has become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we needed to pivot the design. Soderlund added that Visceral will be ramping down and closing, and that they're in the midst of shifting as many of the team as possible to other projects and teams at EA. Lastly, Soderlund said, while we had originally expected this game to launch late in our fiscal year 2019, I believe EA's fiscal year was midway through the year.
Sure. I don't know.
We're now looking at a new time frame that we will announce in the future. So it could be fall next year. I highly doubt that. It could be could be fall 2019, could be 2020, who knows. And then he said in the email to Jason Schreier when they reached out, regarding the game, which was codenamed Ragtag. A development team from across worldwide studios will take over development of Ragtag, led by the EA Vancouver team that has already been working on the project alongside EA Visceral. Steve Anthony will lead this team, and we will use much of the work that has been done to date by Visceral. The assets of Ragtag that have already been built will be the foundation of this new game. So what does that even mean? Like the art, maybe? Like character models,
right? So
animation,
systems. Yeah, it doesn't have to be
probably not the
visual
structure,
assets.
right? Yeah.
And then not even the thing that makes me so mad though is like not even guaranteeing that people who are working on it at Visceral can be. I mean, you'd have to move to Vancouver from here, which is like another thing. But
I mean, there's also the question of was Visceral given a choice,
right? And then, but also just like imagine putting four plus years of your life into this game, and then it's just.
But if your boss comes to you and they say, this game you're working on, we want to change it. Do you want to be a part of that or not?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you make that call? Certainly not blaming Visceral for the studio shutting down.
Of course not. Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. It's like, what is the total story here? We will not know from this press release. That is not something we can ever discern.
No.
Huh.
Yeah, so I was earlier. I was trying to send you this. This was like just before we got on set
At 12:52 p.m. Pacific.
Jason Schreier says the game was
yeah.
not canned because it was single player from what he's heard.
Yeah.
he's heard that it was just a messy situation overall with the development.
It could have been
Which, I mean,
Visceral
that-
wasn't managing itself properly.
Yeah.
That could entirely be the case. We really don't know. But
yeah.
but the statement that they put out saying that they've been monitoring the market, they've been heavily focused testing the game, which I get they have to given the investment risks, but fuck all that.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to distill something creative down to something benign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was like the big thing. Once Amy Hennig left Uncharted 4, she didn't like finish out that project with them. She helped in earlier stages. We were wondering what she was going to be doing. And then we heard that she's making a Star Wars game. It was going to be the follow-up to the canceled 1313. That sounded awesome. And it was Visceral. Dead Space, I love those games.
Yeah,
We all
match made
do.
in heaven, seemingly.
Yeah. And they tweeted that photo yesterday of the studio. Right there, they showed the photo of Visceral Games on the staircase. If you're watching this,
Like 230 people.
a lot
or
of
something
people,
like that.
yes. And Soderlund said as many people as possible will be moved to other studios. So
Yeah. That could be 5.
that could,
I
yeah,
know,
exactly.
like that
could be
possible?
Amy and one other person. But
that's
like,
the thing is like the corporate speak, and you don't know anything
Yeah.
from that statement.
Oh, they're the assets.
and then that
Wow.
table.
Just a bunch of storyboards.
Just hand over a manila folder.
Oh, great! This is great. Good stuff. Yeah, we're gonna use this. Immediately throw it away.
That photo right there. Thank you, Jean-Luc, Eric Tay, or Richard, whoever pulled that up. A lot of people. It's a sad situation. We also want to talk about, Soderlund did say, we are in discussions with Amy Hennig, about her next move. So I wanted to look back at Visceral's games. We're kind of going long today, but we still have some time left. What Amy Hennig has done as a creative director, as an artist, as a writer, and also what Visceral has done. So I do have like Visceral stuff pulled up and Amy Hennig's, but first let's gush about Amy Hennig. So she's been working games since the late 80s. And of course, obviously, she's not the only one that was making the Star Wars game. I think she is one of the more notable people, especially because that was one of the drawing points of that game.
She's the anchor for a lot of the
Right,
excitement. Yeah.
and she's like creatively, she's one of the anchors of Uncharted 1, 2, 3, the beginning of 4. She helped with development. She's been working games since the late 80s. She became lead designer on Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City.
Oh, damn, this Genesis game.
Yes.
I guess it was
when the
maybe on
previous
Super Nintendo, too.
Holy
lead designer
shit.
quit. And then
on her.
Yeah. And then she worked on Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain at Silicon Knights, and then Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 2, and Legacy of Kain Defiance. A ton of people always are calling for Legacy of Kain to come back. I never played them.
Oh, really? Man, it's like...
Yeah, what are they about?
Sort of about like a... I forget the details, but you're like a demon fighting against an even worse demon.
Nice.
Cain basically is the bad guy. You play as Cain in the first game, but the second one, Soul Reaver, this is the one that was like... This put the series on the map. This sort of defined it. It was third person action exploration game where you got some upgrades and stuff, but really great atmosphere. Very interesting sort of conceit for the story.
I'm getting crazy nostalgia vibes
my
on this
God.
on this footage. Like I remember.
Oh, there's G.
Juan Carlos
Oh my
Fernandez!
God!
Damn.
There he is. He's over at Ubisoft now with Chris Waters and Andy Bauman, but former GameSpot guy Giancarlo
He's the shit.
Vernini.
Twice
I
former
love Jean.
GameSpot guy.
Yes, you worked with him for a
while.
while, but yeah, I don't know much about Legacy of Kain, but people are always saying they would be great to come back.
Soul
That
Reaver.
probably won't happen.
Soul Reaver.
And then of course, Amy Hennig went to Naughty Dog. She was creative director on Jack and Daxter, a couple of the games, and then moved over to Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 as the game director herself. Obviously, those games are fantastic. Uncharted 2, people always say, is one of the better story-based games. Here's Drake's Fortune right here, the first game. You could play all these in the Nathan Drake collection if you want to go back to some of Amy's more recent work before the canceled 1313 follow-up. But she has no shortage of great games in her portfolio. And of course, now she's kind of on a hiatus. They haven't said much of what she's doing. I'm sure she'll land on her feet somewhere. If, contractual obligations maybe might make her go to another EA studio. Maybe she'll go to, what else could she be doing? Maybe
leaving EA?
Yeah.
I mean, I would tell her to, yeah.
Her next move does not mean her move within EA.
It doesn't.
That just means whatever. We don't know what we're doing yet about Amy.
Looking at what she's good at, story-based, action adventure games, doesn't seem like it's aligning with EA's vision right now.
Well, no, but I mean, she could bring those talents to something that
right.
fits their mold. It's just whether or not
yeah.
I mean,
Bethesda.
Yeah,
so,
hey.
yeah, like Jean-Luc was just saying over the mics. Bethesda is doing a lot of single-player stuff between Wolfenstein 2.
Not to assume
Fallout,
anything
Elder Scrolls.
about where she falls in
right.
any of this.
Yeah, we know really so little.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
But it seems like there's a talent that might be wasted at EA somehow.
And I do want to go into Visceral's history because what a great studio. So they began as EA Redwood Shores, which is just south of here.
NASCAR
south
Rumble.
of San Francisco. No. 007 Agent Under Fire. Mm-hmm. That's the James Bond game. I always played on PS2 where you could make it.
I played that on PS2 also.
You could make the hook shot things the default. So then you would just hold it. It would shoot you up to a wall, and you could hover above everybody and shoot them. And then it had the protect the VIP mode. That's a great game. It wasn't canon James Bond, but what is?
I can so clearly hear the ricochet sound in that game. Yeah,
it was fantastic. They did Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King, the character action game. They did Lord of the Rings, the Third Age, the Final Fantasy X kind of ripoff where you're following the Fellowship. Fantastic game. If you haven't played it, it will be your favorite game, I promise you. James Bond 007 from Russia with Love. That's the one with Sean Connery on the cover, or young Sean Connery. I never played it.
Sexy Sean Connery.
Yes. Well, he still is.
I was going to say, that doesn't tell me anything.
Alive?
That was a
me.
joke.
Is Sean Connery alive?
No.
I honestly don't know. Okay. They did The Godfather. Godfather 2. They did My Sims for Microsoft Windows and Wii. They did Road Rash Jailbreak on PlayStation. But, of course, in 2008, they did Dead Space as EA Redwood Shores. The story behind that game was crazy. So Glenn Schofield, who's at Sledgehammer Games now, and the name just escaped me. This is John Luke's and mine live stream. They essentially were at first going to make a System Shock 3. And then Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005, and they're like, holy shit, this is really good. Let's pivot. And they pivoted in a good way into Dead Space. It was the first new IP, one of the few IPs at the time that EA took a chance on. Very Alien-inspired, very Resident Evil 4 inspired. You go aboard I almost said Nostromo, sorry. Yeah. The USG Ishimura mining vessel in the first game. You are Isaac Clarke, an engineer, kind of everyman. No HUD, just all diegetic kind of health, stasis, ammunition counter. This game is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games, one of my favorite IPs of last generation. People are always saying, when are we going to get a PS4, Xbox One, PC re-release? People are saying, there were some questions that I want to get into about what happens with Dead Space now, if anything was going to happen. But yeah, holy shit, these games are fantastic. I wish.
I love how spooked you get.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Halloween.
Fighting
I don't get
necromorphs.
scared.
Dead Space is fantastic. Dead Space is one of
Big boy.
it's actually, you can kind of look at Dead Space as a microcosm of EA's shift, right?
The
first
three had microtransactions almost, right?
Yep. Yeah. People were saying it's kind of ironic that Dead Space 3 pushed microtransactions when it came out in 2013, I believe, spring of 2013.
Yeah.
I really like Dead Space 3 for what it is. Very, very action heavy shooter.
Cool customization of weapons and stuff too.
The crafting is awesome. The crazy weapons you could make. You could put a bowcaster on the bottom with a rifle on top, etc. The first game was way more horror focused, kind of slower paced in a great way. It's one of my favorite games. A lot of people love this game. Visceral is no more. So people were asking what will happen with Visceral's properties. So it's not going to be. So it's not like EA is not shutting down. So it's not going to be like THQ's auction.
Yeah, did Visceral own rights to anything?
Yeah, right. So I'm assuming the rights to Dead Space would just go to. If they're not already under EA, it'll just stay at EA,
They're
right?
Probably under EA.
Yeah, some people are
Shocked if
saying,
they weren't.
what does this mean for the possibility of Dead Space 4 if there ever was one? I was like, they could bring back Dead Space 4. I think it would actually do okay. I don't know that that'll happen for a long time now. If it ever happens, I don't think, and if they did, it would be microtransaction heavy, I would say. No, they don't come back, but there will be daily challenges and shit.
Didn't 3 have some microtransactions in it?
Welcome to 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They kind of like sparked microtransactions. They didn't spark microtransactions.
You just sped through so much.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm speaking fast. I love Dead Space. Yes, it did. You could essentially buy weapon parts
3.
and stuff to add to crafting and whatnot.
My bad.
And armor and shit.
I feel like, just to say this because we didn't say it earlier, I would much rather just a studio say this game costs $80 flat now, because that's what we need it to cost.
I'd rather EA just say, hey,
our
we're going to cut your budget, make your game for a more modest amount of money.
Do it, do like a Hellblade, do like a Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, do Uncharted Lost Legacy AA size game.
Yeah, or cut the game in half and make it 2 parters.
Or
and see what you can do with the first half.
Well, I was just saying, like, instead of microtransactions, like if you need microtransactions to support the cost you put into this game, I'd rather just pay more.
I think the delta is probably wider than we imagine it to be based on our own behaviors.
I'm sure, yeah.
So Grant Wilson, a friend of the show on Twitter yesterday, was saying, with the closure of the studio, will some properties be auctioned to other studios or stay in-house under different teams? For example, Dead Space. Again, THQ auction happened because THQ itself dissolved. EA is still very much a publisher.
I don't think anyone's going to be able to pay EA enough to take a property away from them when that is
Star Wars.
When that is a card they can keep in their back pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, even something like Dead Space. I mean, there may come a time when they think that game is right, and I don't know, $10 million, $20 million isn't enough. They don't need that kind of capital. The capital isn't the problem. It's opportunity. Is the problem, and they are rich with opportunity and have the money to sort of dictate how that plays out.
Yes. Unless there's any final thoughts on Visceral closing, obviously our heart goes out to them. Yeah.
Yes, bullshit.
On EA's new direction. I want to try to end on a lighter note, but are any final thoughts? I'm excited to see what Amy Hennig does next because her portfolio is
Go play
amazing.
Dead Space. How about that?
Go play Dead Space 1, 2, and 3.
And tell the devs how much you like the game.
And I very much feel for everyone who lost their jobs in the transition and who put a lot of work into this game and maybe feel like it was all for nothing. And I saw a lot of people retweeting job postings yesterday.
Yeah.
This is a long shot also. If there's anybody watching, we would love to...
We're hiring a video producer. What are you
No, we're not, to clarify. I would love to talk to Visceral people. They're in the area. They're not watching now. I'll reach out to them separately, but I would love to do something more in depth down the road when it's not as fresh.
We'll do like the silhouette modulated voice thing.
When I was working at this
I was
working 20 hours a day with no sleep. Amy Hennig likes orange soda. One meal a day. It's called slop. And they shoveled it in her mouth.
Yikes.
Let's end on a positive note. Jean-Luc over the mic was just saying he would love it if Amy Hennig went to Bethesda. Bethesda is like the chorus right now in the chat, saying publishers who are doing it right in terms of balancing stuff. Like, you got Quake Champions coming out, and I believe that'll have some sort of payment model. But then you have Dishonored 2, you have Death of the Outsider, you have Prey. Arcane, I'm very worried about.
The problem is none of those games are selling well.
So worried about
That was what I was going to say earlier.
Evil Within 2 is supposed to be a failure at this point already.
Yes.
You look at the lineup of those games, right? Like
Wolfenstein 2 is coming out soon.
Deus Ex was like an example.
Right.
Like
It just puts more pressure on something like Wolfenstein 2 to sell well because big publishers do that cascading model. Money from Dishonored 2 will go toward Prey. Prey will go toward... actually, I don't know about outside of Arcane, but it'll go from project to project. They're not really making a ton of money on each one, especially if they're flops. They're all great games.
Yeah, which sucks because
They're not all
good.
Fallout 4.
They're good games, yeah.
But Bethesda, in terms of making games that people do want to play, they're still doing a good job right now. I can't say the same thing commercially. Prey is, in mine and Jean-Luc's, one of our top 5 games of the year, but it didn't do shit for sales, which sucks. And I just beat Death of the Outsider finally the other night. Like, Callie, to your point, like, I would love it, and again, Pete, you're saying the numbers are probably we can't even fathom them right now in terms of what the delta is. But if they were to say, hey, you could pay $75 for a game like Shadow of War, and we're not gonna have you could pay $80 for a game like Shadow of War. We're not gonna have microtransactions, or you could pay $30 for a game like Hellblade, which doesn't cost much money to make. We'll have a better return on investment because it's not a 200-person team working for 4 years with $30 million. I would love that if they just widened that and then gave us the choice between these AA size games. Indie games are still, personally, where a lot of the creativity is right now. That's what a lot of people are echoing.
The cost to make versus the amount you can potentially
and I think it's also the desire to do something interesting and just let that sort of be it, not make that one interesting thing drawn out to sort of sell the idea of value. I think value is sort of a sickness, and people who argue about that today don't really understand how the value of $1 has changed and the amount of dollars it takes to make a game has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, and I really don't like the idea that length of a game or amount of content directly relates to how impactful it is or how valuable it is or how much money you should spend on it.
It can be for some people.
It can be if that is what your measurement of.
If you can only afford one game, you want that game to last a long ass time.
Right. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, right? But like, for example, like Stardew Valley was $15 on Switch. I've already put like over 30 hours into it. Had it for like a week and a couple days. Versus, a $60 story. Like if I'm just playing the campaign, like I actually used to only really play the campaigns in Call of Duty. I didn't really play a lot of multiplayer when I was younger. They used to be like 5-6 hours, and I didn't really put a lot of time in for my money, right?
Yeah. And it sucks. Like a Novum in the YouTube chat, he's been in the chat throughout the show, was saying the amount of people buying games has also changed. So you can't leave that out, right? Like, I mean, the more people, the games are becoming more and more like pervasive by the day. I mean, they have been for quite some time, but companies like Activision, companies like EA are going to say, how do we get the most people to play this game, as opposed to something like Cuphead, who says, how do we get, despite the fact that they sold 1 million copies, which is fantastic, they sat down, they didn't say, how do we get everybody playing games today to play Cuphead? They thought, how do we get these 10,000 people to play Cuphead, which is a lot. I would think that's a lot, but like you're making that game for a specific subset of people, and that's great. And I feel like that gap between indie and AAA is widened even more. It's like AAA is disappearing, and it's just becoming these games as service. But then everybody else is saying, like, if every game is trying to be a games as service, how are you gonna have time to play all of them? Like, people who really like a lot of us play Destiny 2 a lot, but people who really play Destiny 2 like almost exclusively play Destiny 2. How is there gonna be room for a Star Wars game like that alongside Anthem? Like, this makes me worry about BioWare. Like, how much is their design being
Star
dictated
Wars
by
would do
EA?
okay. But
Star Wars
you're
will
right,
do
but
okay.
you're fair to say it. Yeah.
It will definitely do okay, but like, who's to stop? Like, everybody tried chasing this. I mean, even like Gearbox tried doing this with Battleborn, right? I mean, well, actually, no, that's kind of unfair. They didn't as much.
Battleborn.
And Battleborn's a very underrated game, but that's a separate, separate conversation.
I feel like crying every time I hear the word Battleborn.
What was Nick Chester saying about Fortnite? There was like it's like $100 million into making that game.
Yes.
So far.
And yeah, it was yesterday, right? He was talking on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
And he was saying like that was very much a result of Epic not feeling okay about making just a AAA like Gears of War game and then just releasing it and being $60. It's more like, how do we create longevity in this game and have, like Cliff Bleszinski did an interview with Eddie McCoo, our news editor our former news editor. Chris Pereira's our news editor now. He's one of our news writers.
He's our Eddie McCoo.
He's our Eddie McCoo. He's
an editor,
news machine.
yeah.
He's an editor. Yeah. He did an interview with Cliff Bleszinski. Lawbreakers had like, we looked on Steam a couple weeks ago. How many concurrent people?
Oh my
30?
God, it was like 69 on
10.
one.
No,
across like 3 platforms. It was like 60 people total.
No,
Oh.
10
on Steam. It was
that's
the
worse
second
than-
time it's surfaced on like Reddit R Games. It was like,
Titanfall
look
1
what-
did better in it after like.
dude.
Yeah.
Any game.
Yeah.
Like
I did see
10.
when it was 69 concurrents. I
Nice.
did see the thing where somebody was like, "This is not nice."
That was Mark Brown, I think.
That was a good
actually.
joke. Anyway. Oh yeah, it was Mark Brown. Yeah.
Yes. So Cliff Bleszinski was saying, he's like, we don't have a huge player base right now, but our whole game plan is devoted to increasing the player base. Like, the investment's not there because games take so much money to make, cost so much money to make. Sorry, and the investment needs to be a sure thing almost if you're not making an indie game with several people. Like the Moldenhauer brothers make Cuphead. Like Remy Ismail was talking about like stuff a lot recently on Glixel and on Twitter, talking about how Luftrausers and Nuclear Throne were like very much, like their structure as a company allowed them to do something creative and like cater to a smaller subset of people. But it's kind of sad to see all this happening.
That's super neat though. Just like Cuphead is such a great example of that. Where
Yeah.
like that idea, like imagine pitching that to like EA or anyone like that. They're like, I'm sorry, what was that?
Laughed out of the boardroom.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You could get the fuck
You
out.
want a hand
2D animated?
2D
Hand
drawn?
drawn? Are you out of your mind?
Look at this suit. Look at this $2,000 suit.
Yeah, right. The guy, the $3,000 suit's gonna let you hand draw a game for 4 years. Come on.
Yeah.
It's what apparently it reminds me of also the same situation with what happened to Netflix. Remember hearing that? Like the actual story of like the creators of Netflix first went to Blockbuster
Oh, right.
execs
Yeah.
and like got sworn out
And
Like,
now
get
who's
the
still
you're
around?
an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that forever.
Yeah. I'm
Also,
Mr.
Can I see your
Blockbuster.
membership card?
Do you guys know what Movie Pass is? Very quick tangent. Movie Pass.
It's Blockbuster.
Yes, I know what
No,
Movie Pass is.
Movie Pass. You pay for this plastic card and you get the app. Per month, you pay a set amount. A while ago, it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
$60. Each
Theaters.
day, you can go see a movie in theater each day as long as it's not opening night, I believe, and you can't see more than one movie a day. Guess how much per month they lowered it to get more people?
$40.
No, $10. I just got it.
Damn.
Dan Reger from Giant Bomb was just like going off about it. He's like, dude, like someone must have gotten fired for this because they're so backed up because everybody just swarmed in to get it. Dude, if you see one movie a month in anywhere, you're saving money. If you see one movie in IMAX, you're saving like $15 a month. If you see a movie each week at IMAX in theaters, you're saving like $75. You could go each day.
At some point, you're making money.
Yes. Somehow.
That's a full-time job.
Yes. But anyway, go try Movie Pass. They're backed up. You need the card, but it's worth checking out before they ramp it. Also, I would pay $30 for that. But maybe that sucks that like EA doesn't have the same mindset.
I mean, I would love to see, rather than the market kind of being more homogenous and every game being a games of as service, because I mean, like obviously, like you said, if you are a Destiny 2 player and that is the game that you play, you're not going to play another game that attracts that same. This is the game that you play. I mean, there's
Something
very
like
few
Cuphead is
people.
perfect.
There's very few people who play like multiple. Like, there's very few people who like regularly play both Dota and League, and then also like Heroes of the Storm or something.
Yeah.
Like that's just doesn't make sense. Even if you are a MOBA player.
Yeah.
I would rather see it diversify and you know, something like Cuphead where it's like, oh, we're not trying to get everybody to like this. This is for certain people. And that's a great example of something being successful. But like even like I think about something like Gone Home that's like this, we're not trying to attract a huge audience. This is an experience for particular people. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Like
communism would be good for AAA games. Just to determine, okay, you are the games as a service. You are the fighting game.
Yeah.
That's the only one.
what I'm getting at is it's just disheartening to see companies jump on a trend
Yes.
when it doesn't necessarily make sense or translate.
It's sad when money defines the market or defines the medium when before it was creativity.
Yeah.
I can see the headline for this segment right now. Is capitalism ruining AAA games?
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
Trump ruining? Star Wars, great property. Move it over to microtransactions.
Don't do that.
Got the season pass. Looking forward to loot
I was
boxes.
playing. I was playing Star Wars yesterday. I got a duplicate. Very, very angry, but still great team. Very proud of them. Okay.
Beautiful team.
That was a long show. We are gonna wrap it
We
up.
didn't
Thank
even
you
talk
so
about
much.
South Park.
Shit.
I was gonna say.
All right, Sorry, Jean-Luc, Richard, and Eric. It's late in the day.
They
We
left a
went.
long time ago.
Yeah, we don't know who's back there right now. Let's talk about South Park. Well, again, that's what you thought I was going to talk about when I said let's end on a lighter note, didn't you?
I swear,
Let's
I
end on a
thought you
lighter
were going to
note. Okay.
talk about South
I
Park.
want to ask a few reductive questions because we don't have too much time. South Park. Do you like this game? We put it up. We gave it an 8 out of 10 on GameSpot, but Miguel reviewed it.
Sorry.
What was that?
I was just laughing.
But sorry, I got
South
wrapped up
Park.
in all this microtransaction
You're
talk
good.
again.
You're good.
Fuck.
This is South
Park,
is
the
all I did
fractured
today.
butthole. Oh yeah, you guys
To
all prepared
prepare
for
for
this.
this.
Sorry. What do you guys think of it? No.
Okay.
All right. So, first off, just to clarify, this just came out Tuesday from Ubisoft San Francisco. South Park: The Fractured Butthole sequel, not kind of sequel. Yeah,
It is
sequel
a
to
sequel. It is a sequel,
Stick of
yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
A lot of fan service for South Park, but instead of like this high fantasy RPG parody, it's superhero. New combat. Same
Yeah.
world
Yeah,
essentially.
I
It's
wanted
South
to go
Park.
back and play the Stick of Truth.
The gold edition.
How much
has
it's
both.
changed.
Practical character
Yeah.
balance.
But anyway, so
resulting-
you are going through this game right here. Of course, there's a pooping tutorial, and then you do
From the last
Yeah.
game,
gas
that
up,
makes
and then
another
you
appearance.
pinch it off.
They have some funny little names for the maneuvers. There's like the
Yeah.
Windsor Shuffle or some shit.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a bunch of good ones.
It's South Park. I think like actually don't have much to really say other than like like I am actually like a huge South Park fan. Like easily like of comedy TV shows. It's like my like number 2. Like I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Poo. A lot of poo jokes in this. So yeah, like it's South Park. it's more an interactive South Park game.
Wait,
Or
while we're
sorry,
on the Yowie.
let me say it again.
That's whole side
it's
quest, right?
it's weird. I can't really think of like any other type of game per se that is like you're playing it for South Park. You're not playing it for a game. And I want to say that this time around, compared to the last game, there's a lot more. This is a lot more gamey. There's a lot more like mechanics.
A surprisingly good, like kind of shallow RPG, but it was a good game. Just like outside.
Yeah, it was,
I'm not like the most well-versed South Park fan, so like I guarantee you're getting more out of it than I am. But
exactly,
yeah, like to your point, that excites me because I liked Stick of Truth as a game, even outside of the South Park property. It sounds like this is even more of that.
There's a lot more exploration and heavy-handed like recycling of like going back to like a garage and now using the power that like gating a lot of the game of like chests and like items with your powers. So in that respect, I like got frustrated early on because I was doing a lot, maybe it's too much exploration, and realizing like, oh, I'm just gonna have to come back here. Or fast travel, like in this game, I feel like rolls out like really slowly. So you're like walking, it just feels tedious to like walk down the same street again and again, running by, these are the superpowers that are pretty funny. You're walking by people whose NPCs that are random, but they aren't voiced by Trey Parker or like Matt Stone, which kind of kills me. It actually like I can like hear a random dude in a VO booth,
Yeah,
like
you can
that's
tell when it's
that's
like that.
trying to mimic. South Park is extremely like unique humor to those two dudes, right? Like they are one and the same, and it's just like it feels a little disingenuous. Like
Is this like dressing room in a strip club?
this is a strip
Yes,
club, yeah.
there's-
But the other thing I would say is even if like in my play I then pertained
Jesus
to just doing the
Christ.
main story. The last game I felt like was way funnier. Like I had so many better memories of Stick of Truth than this one. I haven't beaten this game yet, but I would say that like throughout the course of the first game, like there are so many scenes that everyone can talk about, right? Like the going up Mr. Slave's ass.
Yeah. We've all been there.
seeing your parents having sex in the game and like becoming small and like having like the whole room rattle as you're going into like the nitty gritties of like the walls. Like
man.
there are a couple good moments, but like or like Randy, like saving Randy on the saucer.
Was that a crab person?
That's crab people. Yeah, they're back.
Walk like crab, talk like people.
Love crab people.
Oh yeah. Anyways,
Do you like? I mean, to be reductive again, do you like this better than Stick of the Truth?
No, I like so far I've been liking Secret Truth.
Okay.
Okay,
More
I want to touch on what you said though about like it not being as funny. I couldn't tell if that was just me growing out of South Park or getting over South Park, because I mean I had definitely like a couple years where I was like super into South Park and like really into just Matt and Trey in general, and I know a lot about the show. And so like I'm going through this and I'm seeing those callbacks and like the the Tweak and Craig Yowie is like my favorite thing, but at some point there's things where I'm like I get a little exhausted by certain South Park things, like I couldn't tell if that was the game or if that was me.
I hear exactly what you're saying, and I feel the same way. I would say it's maybe a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Like I feel like for instance, like this so heavy-handed like with farts. Like so was the last game, but I
that's
think
the
even
thing.
more so again. It's like a fart will get me. I will laugh pretty hard. Like when you die, it's like you're dead, and then you got to respawn. It goes just like it's so like in your face, aggressive that it's funny in that respect. But I don't know, like when so many of the mechanics are like fart on this person to do this, and it's like you're making them throw up. Like eventually, like it wears thin.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's the. I mean, I've never been a big fart humor fan anyway, and the like super like the one where like we never should have gone ziplining, whatever that episode. There's just a lot of shit in that episode, like literal shit in that episode. And I like that I just can't watch it because I'm like, there's just too much actual shit.
It's watch it now.
It's a really funny.
Yeah,
episode.
no, but
I like that one. But yeah, I hear you.
But like, the South Park humor that I like is present in this game. Like I like the subtle things that remind you that they're children. Like at the beginning of the game where you're doing like the introductory battle, and like in the middle of it they're just like car and everyone has to move. Like
that happens all the time during battles.
Yeah, and there's that stuff I love. Like that is the South Park humor that I like the most. Those things that you're like, these are children, and that's horrifying that these are children saying these things and doing these things, and that's what. But there's also the South Park things where it's like, oh, that was an interesting idea, and I don't think you took it far enough. Like the microaggressions battle, I thought was really clever. Just the idea of like what isn't a microaggression, but I just feel like
I wanted more of that extreme. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
With as is usual for South Park, they kind of stay right down the middle with a lot of things, and I just feel like if they took it just another step and like actually said something with it, I think that would be funnier to me. Like if they really like, instead of just being like, haha, you can be pansexual in the game, like I just feel like you could do more with it. Like I made myself as femme as possible. Like I have pink hair and I have literal eyelashes and I'm wearing a dress. I have Princess Kenny's dress, and like people, like it just doesn't have any impact on, and like the difficulty slider with the skin color like has a very minimal impact on the game, and just people will be like, oh, it's getting urban in here, you know. I just feel like they're just doing that South Park thing where they just walk a line, and crossing the line is just being like, Mexicans, am I right? Instead of actually, I just feel like they could take it somewhere.
They push. That's what they're known for, right? They push boundaries. Like that's how everyone knows about it. Oh, do you see the latest South Park? Like,
but
they,
actually,
made people really upset.
In a safe way, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's actually very safe. I don't think it's edgy. I think it's edgy humor, but I don't think it's particularly like it doesn't push any bound. You know what I mean? There's like the thing where you can say something offensive, or you could like actually say something really funny, funny observation about. You know what I mean? Like the microaggressions thing was so.
If you don't go far enough, then it just becomes a one-off joke that's making light of it.
Yeah, it was like such a straw man moment where it was like, I get the joke, but also this is like such a caricature where it's not impactful at all.
Like, didn't the last game have? And I'm thinking about the last game because there were so many like, oh my god moments with South Park, and like that's what they're known for, right?
Yeah.
There was like,
sorry, Rob, I'm
like
not trying to be a dick, but
wrap it up
quickly.
Great. There were like, it was like Nazi like aborted fetuses, right? Like babies, like that was like, oh my god. I haven't really hit any of those moments. We saw some footage of the stripper battle. That was edgy, but like that was one of the edgiest moments, which isn't compared to like other South Park moments. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's episodes that I do think do that. Like I really like the Raisins episode where like Stan's really depressed and the goths come up to him and he's like talking about like why does anything matter, and like. Butters is really depressed, and
he gets obsessed with them.
Butters is hands down my favorite character in South Park, and then he gives that whole speech about like I'd rather feel this way because then it means that I felt something great. Like I was like, holy shit, South Park! Like I loved that. That's one of my favorite episodes.
Yes,
I don't see that yet.
So
sorry.
Last point.
Quickly.
No, you're good. Last point. The last point I have is that like like you mentioned like some of the best South Park moments were when like they're kids and it's like. Like in real life type scenarios.
Well, that was an episode where they said something.
Yeah, but the other thing is that what I think is kind of absent is that like you're getting single characters, but like the best episodes for me are like, as you said, Butters is my favorite too. Butters and Cartman.
Yeah.
Like that dynamic, like there are so many glorious episodes. Awesome-O, like is one of the best episodes ever.
Yeah.
My mom's favorite episode is Butters Bottom Bitch.
Yeah. Like where it's like two extremes as far as like a kid and like, Cartman just like wrecking Butters.
Yeah.
In all forms, but there's not much of that.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I'm missing is like I want more interactions.
So it doesn't go far enough in general to make it worthwhile parody satire?
I think if you like South Park or you're a huge fan, I think you should totally play this game.
But as far as the actual satire goes, it sometimes just
for
becomes
South Park
one-off
in
jokes.
general, I want their satire to be. I want them to step it up. Their satire has worn its welcome for me.
All right, that was a long episode, almost an hour and 40. Thank you for everybody sticking around. We had a lot to talk about today. Jean-Luc Richards, I almost said Richard Seipke, I'm tired. Jean-Luc Seipke, Richard Lee, and Eric Tay in the back room, thank you for running the show. We do have a giveaway. I'll get to that really quick so we can wrap up and everybody else can get back to work. It is pretty cool this week. It's a lot of Dishonored. We got a PS4 Pro with Dishonored skin, kind of got the Outsider mark on it and some cool stuff on the front of it. Got Funko Pop. We got Corvo and Emily both with and without their masks, and the Outsider himself up there at the top left. If you're watching this, got the graphic novel book down low right there. We got a novelization, Dishonored the Corroded Man, and an art book of Dishonored 2, as well as an Xbox One S with said Outsider logo and controller. So for specific details, this giveaway is live right now. You can go follow us on Twitter if you don't, at GameSpot, or go to our site. The Dishonored 5th Anniversary Prize Pack will be 5 winners. 2 winners will receive the PS4 or Xbox One custom consoles, US only. Apologies to people outside. That ends this Saturday, October 21st. We are also giving away the BlizzCon virtual tickets. So this will be 10 winners. Freebies and exclusive content included. This is open to everyone worldwide. This ends Monday, October 23rd. So BlizzCon is coming up on November 7th? 3rd. November 3rd will be BlizzCon. So this is a virtual ticket, so you can watch this all like live streaming and whatnot, and you'll also get some swag through that. This is open worldwide. This is the same thing. Go follow us on Twitter if you don't already, at GameSpot. Retweet it. It'll end Monday, October 23rd at noon. Both, and then again, the Dishonored 5th Anniversary Prize Pack ends Saturday, October 21st at 5 o'clock Pacific. Whew. Awesome. And Shiva, if you're in the Twitch chat, Shiva just posted that link. But again, if you're listening to this after the fact or watching this after the fact, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live on Twitch or YouTube, thank you as always for sticking it out. It was a fun episode. It was long, but we're glad everybody was here. We will see you next week at the normal time, 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. We don't have to push it back next week, so we'll be back to our morning schedule. And who knows, maybe we'll go just as long because there's a crazy week coming up. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining.